Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. The topic of this video is going to be about cultural conditioning. Yeah, the topic of this video is going to be about cultural conditioning and stuff like that. The topic of this video is going to be about cultural conditioning and stuff like that. Cultural conditioning. Anyway, so what am I getting at? Cultural conditioning. What do I mean by cultural conditioning? Basically, this video is going to sort of discuss how you've sort of been molded by your society and culture and stuff like that, like the place where you were born, that kind of that massively like shaped your mentality and your mindset and everything, and your beliefs and your opinions and your all these other types of things, your religious beliefs, all of these sorts of things, like basically cultural conditioning is kind of in the name. In this video, I'm gonna be like kind of discussing and talking about like how you've kind of been molded by like your society and the culture you were raised in and stuff, depending on where you were born, because you know the culture you were born in, raised with, the society you were born in, and the culture you were born into as well. It's kind of I'm kind of being done with my words. Basically, like where you were born is so important. Like what type of society you're born into, what particular cultural society you're born into, what type of culture you're born into is so important. It massively impacts your mindset, your mentality, your beliefs, opinions about everything and stuff like that. It all comes from like how you were like raised and stuff like that when you were little, and stuff. Your beliefs, your opinions and stuff like that, all of these sorts of things, all of your mindset, your mentality, how you see the world, all of this comes from like the culture you were raised in, the society you were raised in, all of these sorts of things. The topic of this video is going to be about, so I'm kind of being kind of dumb, I'm kind of wasting too much time on like explaining too many things, but you know, cultural conditioning. The topic of this video is going to be about cultural conditioning and stuff. Cultural conditioning, basically like the culture and society you were raised with and stuff, into and born into and blah blah blah. That all of that, like the culture, I'm still like mesmerized by those towers up there. Anyway, the culture and society you were born into, that massively shapes your mentality, mindset, everything like that. All of that is so important. It's so important to like kind of understand, right, that like the society and culture you're born into, that massively impacts you in so many tremendous ways. It alters your entire development. Like let's just say, because the best example to use would be Nazi Germany. Look at like the time period of World War I and World War II. Nazi Germany, basically, right? Nazi Germany. Okay, so why am I bringing Nazi Germany up? The Germans in that time period, the Germans in Nazi Germany, they had no qualms about like genocide and genocide and like gas chambers and like killing people and stuff, and killing off specific ethnic groups and minorities and stuff like that. The Germans in the time period, you know, in the time period of World War I and World War II in Nazi Germany, the Germans in this time period, they had no like problems like with exterminating like entire ethnic groups, specifically the Jews as well, but you know, also the Gypsies and stuff like that. These types of people were like getting mass exterminated by the Germans, because in Nazi Germany, like there's like this type of like this belief that there's like a racial hierarchy, and the Germans are at the top and everyone else is at the bottom, and they need to kind of be pushed out of the way so the Germans can like take more land and like spread their own like race around the world. Super important to understand, right, that the society and culture you're born into and stuff and raised with is so influential. It massively impacts you. Nazi Germany, the Germans in Nazi Germany, they had no problems with like mass exterminating like entire ethnic groups, specifically the Jews. Obviously in Nazi Germany, the Holocaust obviously relates to that, but you know, Nazi Germany demonstrates all of this so beautifully and perfectly, right, that the society and culture that you're born into, it massively impacts your mentality, your mindset, your beliefs, how you like see things and stuff like that, how you like feel about morality as well and ethics. Because again, in the time period of World War I and World War II, the Nazi Germany, the Nazis, they had no problems like committing like genocides and homicides and stuff like this. They had no qualms about like mass exterminating specific ethnic groups and minorities and etc. Specifically, obviously the Jews, obviously the Holocaust, it relates to that. This is so important to understand, right, that the society you're born into and the culture that you're raised with, all of this type of thing, all of these types of things, they massively shape your mentality, mindset, your beliefs, like how you see the world and stuff like that, your how you feel about morality and stuff. All of this type of thing, these types of things, it comes from like the culture and the society that you get brought up with and raised in and stuff and born into and stuff like that. Super important. Again, Nazi Germany, such a beautiful example to use. Beautiful. The Nazis, they killed a lot of Jews and they killed a lot of other people and they committed a lot of wars. Why are you saying beautiful? I'm just kind of, I don't know. It's kind of, but it's like a good example to use, like to show you how massively influential like the society that you're raised in is, like the society that you're born into and stuff, the culture that you're raised in and with and stuff like that. All of that, it shapes your mindset, your mentality, your beliefs, how you feel about morality and all of these types of things, ethics, all of these sorts of things. It relates to that so massively, like which society you're born into and like what type of culture you're raised with. That's so influential. We don't appreciate that. So a lot of us are such dumbasses. We don't like you don't think too much about you like, because we're all born into a society, right? We all like we all get raised with some type of certain culture. Like if you're born in England, like me, I was born in England, like a Pakistani guy born in England and stuff like that. But the fact that I was born in England, when I was like a lot younger, that massively shaped my mentality, my mindset, my beliefs about the world, how I act and behave, the culture, the English culture. That kind of it was. I was reacting to it when I was just a little boy and stuff like that, and it shaped my mindset and my mentality and my beliefs. Like where you're born is so important. Like it determines everything. I'm not even kidding. Nazi Germany, the Germans in Nazi Germany, I don't believe that, you know, even like a lot of people, we just want to like see the Nazis as being like they're just evil and stuff like that, and they didn't know any better and stuff. Like we just want to be like that. No. The Nazis, they were born into Nazi Germany. You can't really even blame the Nazis. They were just going with what the society was telling them, right? That's what a lot of us do. We always go with what the society, what our society and what the dominant culture says and stuff like that about morals and ethics and what's right and what's good and what we should be doing and stuff. The Nazis in Nazi Germany, a lot of you would be like, oh, they're evil people. No, they were just raised in that type of society and with that type of culture. That shaped their mindset and mentality and beliefs and how they feel about morality and ethics and all of that. It came from the Nazi German culture, the Nazi Germany and stuff like that. All of that shaped their mindset and mentality and beliefs. You can't fault the Nazis for being like what they were, because they were just the Nazis were sort of victims of their society and culture. That's so true. That's so important to understand. You should not see them as like evil people. Like a lot of us, like if you look through history, like, oh, they're just evil people. Genghis Khan, he killed a lot of people. He was this evil. He's an evil guy. If Genghis Khan was born today into our modern society, I doubt he would be a genocidal warlord. He was like a product of his time period. If like all of these like violent, atrocious people in our past history, if they were born today, they would be like regular people. They would just be like me and you. They would not have. There's nothing like innately bad about them. They were just raised in a horrible society that really altered their mindset and mentality and stuff. So important, super important to like to understand this, and so important. Like, you know, Nazi Germany, super important. It's like the best example to use and stuff like that. Nazi Germany, such a good type of example to use, because, you know, the Nazis and stuff like that, they weren't like particularly, there was nothing innately bad about them. It's just that they were raised in that type of society with that type of culture, and that shaped their mindset and mentality and beliefs and their feelings about morality and ethics. All of that came from their society. Their society was telling them that, okay, killing these other ethnic groups is good because the Germans are better and stuff, and that's what their society was telling them, and they did that and stuff. Obviously in the Holocaust, it resulted in the Holocaust and stuff, and these other type of atrocities. I don't want to get into that too much. I don't want to get into that type of thing too much. So important, right? What, like, your society, it shapes you in so many different ways, massively. It shapes you massively and stuff like that. You can't be understated. You can't be a dumbass. You can't be a dumbass. The society that you get raised in and born into and stuff like that, the culture that you get raised with and all of these types of things, it shapes your mindset, your mentality, your beliefs about the world and everything like that. Again, the Nazis, a lot of us, all the Nazis, they were just super evil people, they were bad people. No, they weren't. I do not believe that the Nazis were super evil and bad. They were just raised in that type of society, in the Nazi German society, and the Nazi German society was telling them that, oh, killing other ethnic groups is good because the Germans are better and stuff. That shaped their mindset, mentality, their feelings about morality and ethics and that. And so they went around trying to kill people, and in the Holocaust and blah blah blah, they did that and stuff because that's what their society was telling them was good. You see, good and bad, obviously morality and all these types of things, it's not like these things are objective. You can objectively measure good and bad and morality and ethics and all these types of things. Obviously that's way too philosophical and theoretical, but I want to bring it back to like how your society, culture, that massively shapes your mindset and mentality and your beliefs about the world and your feelings about about morality and all these types of things. All of this comes from your society and the culture you were raised in. Again, I'm a Pakistani guy. I was born in England and stuff like that. That massively that impacted my mindset, my mentality, and my beliefs and stuff. Because you the English culture, when I was like a little boy, I was reacting to that. Obviously, you were reacting to that and stuff. all these types of things, like the culture that you're born, like the society and culture you're born into, that dramatically, like that massively impacts you in so many different ways and stuff like that. So that massively impacts you and stuff. That massively impacts you and stuff like that. Because obviously I was what, like a Pakistani guy born into like England and stuff like that. Pakistani guy born into England. That shaped my mindset, my mentality, and my beliefs. Just like where you were born and stuff like that. Where you were born, where you were born determines quite a lot. Don't be delusional to assume that you're like a unique butterfly and stuff. Like you're not gonna be influenced by the society and culture you're born into and stuff. The society and culture you're born into is so important. It determines quite a lot. Like again, I'll use myself as an example. I actually got born in England. That massively shaped my mindset, my mentality, my beliefs about the world, how I feel about morality and ethics and all these types of things. I was reacting and responding to the English culture, obviously. That happens to all of us. Like whatever society and culture you're born into, you're going to respond and react to that culture. If I was born into any other type of country, I was born in England. If I was born in Germany, I'll be a completely different person. I believe I'll be a completely different person if I was born into any other type of country. If I was born to any other type of country and society and culture, I'll be a different person. I'm not like lying about this. I'm not bitching. I'm not saying with my words. I'm not being a dumbass. This is true. This is so true. If I was born in any other type of country, I would be a different person completely. What country and culture you're born into, that is so important to think about. That is so like influential. It influences everything. Like what culture and society you're born into, that change as a person, your character development, that alters everything about you. Like depending on, like everything about you comes from like what type of society and culture you get raised in. Obviously not everything. I'm being kind of a dumbass. You do have some genetic qualities. What genetic qualities? What do I mean by that? Like your personality and stuff like that, your brain chemistry, how tall and muscular you are and stuff like that. There's certain things that aren't just about like what society and culture you're raised in. Obviously there's some things that come from your genetics and stuff. That come from your genetics. But I'm telling you, like if I was like me, I suddenly got born into England, that massively impacted my mindset, mentality, beliefs and feelings about so many different things. If I was born into any other type of country, I would be a completely different person. I'm not even kidding. Any other type of country, society, I'll be a different person. I wouldn't be like me as I am right now. Where you're born and what culture you're born into and stuff, what society you're born into is so influential. A lot of us, we don't appreciate this because we're dumbasses. We're super ignorant and dumb. Bring it back to like Nazi Germany, the Nazis. I do not believe that the Nazis were evil people. We like when we're looking at history, we always like to with a morality brush. We like to paint like specific people like they're evil and they were bad and there's something about them that they were just evil people. That's why they did what they did. No. Nazis in Nazi Germany, they were just being told by their society that killing other ethnic groups is okay and good because the Germans are better and stuff. And that's why the Holocaust happened and stuff. But that wasn't the Nazis' fault. Their society was telling them that's what's good and appropriate. Like this is like such an interesting experiment. But if me and you, right, if we were born into Nazi Germany, we would go with the flow, and you would assume that okay, yeah, the Germans are better. We need to kill the other ethnic groups. You would think that is like right and stuff. A lot of us, we don't really like being an individual is kind of obviously I don't know. Being an individual, like right now it's kind of like celebrated, but like back then a lot of us, we just tried to fit into our societies. We didn't really think too much about being an individual and having our own opinions on things. It was like even today, a lot of us, we just try and fit into our society. We don't really want to be too ostracized and too much of like an outlaw. Obviously it depends on where you're born. Obviously right now there's like a lot of freedom, personal freedom and stuff like that, and a lot of people they want to express themselves, and there's like so much support for like people to be like themselves and to be different and to be more unique, which is kind of beautiful. I don't know, but it wasn't always like this, especially like in like before the time period of World War I and World War II. People were just trying to fit into their society, and they were trying to really just get by and stuff and go with the flow and stuff. They weren't trying to like have their own opinion. That's like extremely modern, which is kind of beautiful. I don't know, it is beautiful now that you can have your own opinion on things. You don't have to just go with the flow and fit into your society. You can have your own opinion on things, and you can be unique and different, and that's celebrated. In Nazi Germany, obviously the Nazis, they were killing like other ethnic groups, did the Holocaust and all these types of things. Why did they do that? A lot of you would be like, oh, they were just evil people, they were just super bad and evil. No, they were born into that type of society, and that society that they were born into, it was telling them that okay, killing these other ethnic groups is good because the Germans are better and stuff, and etc. And that mindset and that mentality, that all of that is so important to understand, that you get molded and shaped by your society, your beliefs and opinions and feelings about morality and ethics and all these types of things, and what you think is good and bad and all that type of jazz. All of that comes from the society you get born into and raised in, and shaped by, like, the society and culture you get born into and stuff like that. It massively shapes you as a person, as an individual. It shapes your mindset and mentality. Obviously, I'm not going to be a dumbass. I'm saying everything about you comes from your society and culture. Obviously, there's you do have genetic qualities. What do I mean by genetic qualities? Like, some parts about you are like, you know, your genetic, your personality, brain chemistry, muscle, like, composition, all of these types of things, bone structure, all of that type of jazz comes from your genetics. Some things about you are like genetic, but a lot of who you are as a person, it comes from your society and culture. You know, if I was born, because I was Pakistani guy born in England, if I was born into any other type of country, I would be a different person. I'm not even kidding. That's not just me being satirical. I would be a completely different person. I would not be like who I am right now. I'll be a different person with a slightly different personality. Obviously, I don't believe that it's just all the culture and society you're born into. That's like, everything about you comes from the culture and society you're born into and stuff. Obviously, there's some, like, genetics and stuff. Genetics are, like, important as well. There's some, like, genetic qualities about you, right? Your brain chemistry, muscle composition, all these types of things. There's some genetics involved in this. I don't know. But I believe that obviously a lot of, like, your personality and character traits and stuff like that, a lot about you comes from the society and culture you were raised in and stuff. A lot of you might be contentious and disagree. Are you telling me, like let's use the example of, like, Nazi Germany? If you were born into Nazi Germany, a lot of you be like, no, I'm gonna be an individual and have my own opinion. I'm gonna go against the Nazi ethics. No, you would be a sympathizer for the Nazi ideology if you were born into that society. Statistically, that is true. Why do you think that the Nazis, like, so many of the German people, they just went with the flow with what the Nazis did? It's because we humans, like, naturally, our brains, psychologically, we just go with the flow. We don't, having your own opinion, that is so rare and unique. So rare and unique. Having your own opinion, that is not the norm. That's not the norm. That's not the norm. Having your own opinion is, like, so you're rare and unique. Especially in our history and stuff like that. Obviously, like, the Nazis in Nazi Germany, some Germans, they weren't really going with the flow. I know there has to be a couple of German people in that time period of World War I and World War II, the Nazis and stuff like that. There had to be some Nazis that were like, okay, I don't want to go with this. I want to kind of defect. I believe some were like that, but a lot of the Germans, they were just Nazi ideology. They just went with that because that's what their society was telling them was right, and they just, like androids, like robots, they just went with that type of ideology, and they just tried to kill other ethnic groups and spread their own people around and stuff. And it's kind of insane. But what culture and society you're born into is super, super important. Again, I'm a Pakistani guy born into England and stuff like that. If I was born into any other type of country or society and stuff like that, I'll be a completely different person. Be a completely different person. Damn, what's that stuff? Be a completely different person. I'm not even joking around. I'm not being satirical. Be a completely different person. Like, the society and culture you're born into is so massively, it shapes you so massively as so like influential. You don't understand it. The society and culture you're born into is it influences everything about you. Your morality, your ethics, how you feel about certain things and stuff like that. It shapes you massively and stuff like that. It shapes you so massively. Has a massive impact on who you are as a person, like your character development and everything like that. Super important to understand that the society and culture you're born into and stuff, it massively shapes you as a person, as an individual, as a human being. Super important. It cannot be, like, understated. You cannot, like, not acknowledge this is so important. Super important. I'm a Pakistani born into England. If I was born into any other type of country, I would not be who I am today. That is facts. I would not be who I am today if I was born into any other type of country. That's so interesting. Think about it. You as a person, if you were born into any other type of country and society and born into another culture, you would not be the same person. Like, you would have to agree with me, right? You would not be the same person. Like, where you're born, that's so important. Like, what type of society and culture you're born into is so important. the Nazis in Nazi Germany, they had no problems with killing the Jews and the other ethnic groups. Why is that? Why didn't they have any problems with that? They just thought it was like, okay, it's like eating, it's just like breathing air in. Like killing Jews is like breathing air in. That's what the Nazis were like. They didn't care about like the Jews in particular. Obviously, it wasn't just the Jews. The Nazis were going after other types of ethnic groups and stuff like that. It's quite funny and hilarious to me. I don't know what society, culture and stuff like that you're born into and raised in and stuff is so important. If you were born into Nazi Germany, a lot of you be like, no, not me, I'm an outlier, I'm exceptional, no. You would go with the flow. We all, us human beings, we naturally just want to go with the flow. We don't, having your own opinion, that is so like exceptional and rare. But obviously in our modern society, it's now it's sort of celebrated to be like unique and different, but that's something that's super new, and that's like very brand new in our history, like to have your own opinion and not to go with the flow. Like all throughout human society and our culture and our civilizations in the past, going with the flow, that was the norm. If you tried to not go with the flow, you'd be ostracized and like ridiculed. Super important to understand this. And going with the flow, that's like a lot of us use, like, that's just human history for you. A lot of us, we just went with the flow. We didn't really try and be unique and different. Being unique and different and having your own opinion, that's so exceptional. And I'm telling you that if you were born into Nazi Germany, into that type of society and culture, you would be a Nazi yourself and you would be killing Jews. I'm telling you that with full certainty, with some certainty. Obviously you might be like autistic and stuff, and so you might be kind of different in that type of way, I don't know. But most likely you would be a Nazi. If you were born into Nazi Germany, into that society, you would be a Nazi, most likely. That's kind of horrifying, isn't it? Isn't that horrifying that if you were born into Nazi Germany, you would most likely be a Nazi? Isn't that horrifying? That's how influential like the type of society and culture you're born into and raised in, that's how influential it is. It can determine whether you're a Nazi or not. That should really make you think, shouldn't it? Shouldn't that make you think and stuff like that? Super influential. It's super important. The type of society and culture you're born into and raised in is so important. Super important. You're gonna like be contentious and disagree and stuff. I don't know. You're gonna be contentious and disagree. I don't know. Maybe. Typically, I do encourage you to be contentious and to disagree and stuff like that. You can take it from me like that. The type of society and culture you're born and raised in is so important. Super important. If you were born into Nazi Germany, most likely you're gonna be like, no, not me. Most likely you would be a Nazi. Most likely, if you were born into Nazi Germany, you would most likely be a Nazi. Don't be contentious. Don't be a dumbass. You're gonna be like, oh no, I wouldn't. No, yes, you would. If you were born into Nazi Germany, most likely you would be a Nazi yourself. We, as human beings, we tend to go with the flow. Even if you like, oh, I'm unique and exceptional, I can have my own opinion. Obviously, that's very rare and new. That's brand new. Because now in our modern society is telling us that it's okay to be unique and different. See, your society tells you that, and now you're believing it. If our society was telling us that's bad, you'd believe it's bad. You see, what your society and culture tells you, that's what you're going to take on board. So important. Cultural conditioning. You've been literally molded, shaped, and sculpted by the society and culture you were born into and raised in. Now you need to understand this. This is so important. If you want to become more enlightened, if you want to be more open-minded about things, you need to understand that, okay, my brain has been literally molded and sculpted by the culture I was raised in and the society I was born into and stuff like that. It's super important to understand this. If you don't understand this, you're going to be very ignorant and dumb. A lot of us, we tend to like be very close-minded and stuff. We don't really appreciate things from other civilizations and cultures because we were born into a particular society and culture, and that's what we stick with and stuff, and that's our mindset and mentality and beliefs about morality and ethics, all that type of stuff. It comes from this type of society and culture that we were born into and raised in. You need to open your head and wash all. I mean, in a metaphorical sense, obviously, if you open your head, you're going to be in a literal sense. Maybe you might get like some type of hammer and nail, or maybe, I don't know, maybe like a chainsaw, and you're going to die. I don't know. Don't be autistic. Don't take what I said in that way literally, but metaphorically. Like, if you open your head and see what's in there, you're going to realize that your entire brain has been sculpted, molded, shaped by your society and culture. This society and culture you were raised in. Stuff like that. Again, I'm a Pakistani guy born in England. If I was born into any other type of country, I would not be who I am today. I'll be a completely different person, different type of person. Wouldn't be the same person. I'll be completely different, man. I would not be who I am today. I'll be completely different. If I was born into France, I'll be a different person. If I was born in Germany, I'll be a different person. If I was born in Turkey, I'll be a different person. Any other type of country, Mongolia, China, Japan. If I was born into any of these other types of countries, I'll be a completely different person. super important. Where you're born is super important. What type of society and culture you're born into is so important. In Nazi Germany, if you were born into Nazi Germany, if you were born in Nazi Germany, you would most likely be a Nazi yourself. I'm not kidding. I'm not even joking around. You would most likely you would be like a, if you were born in Nazi Germany, you would be like a Nazi yourself. I'm not even kidding. If you were born into Nazi Germany, you'd be a Nazi yourself. I'm not even kidding around. That's so insane. You'd be like contentious and disagree and say, "Oh no, I'll be unique. I'll have my own opinion." No, you won't. Just shut up, man. No, you won't. We all, as human beings, it's natural for us to just go with the flow. Don't be a dumbass. Obviously, having your own opinion, because now that's very brand new. You know how new that is? That's because the only reason it's good to have, because your society now is telling you that, okay, it's good to have your own opinion and be unique. That's literally, it's so like funny, because the reason you think that being unique and different is good is because that's what our society tells us now and stuff. That's so it relates to everything I'm saying perfectly. If you're born into Nazi Germany, you would be a Nazi. Don't be a dumbass. You would. Most likely you would. Unless you're artistic, you might be. I mean, obviously you might have some personality quirks that make you like a special butterfly. I don't know. If you were born into Nazi Germany, you would most likely be a Nazi. Yes, you would. Don't be a dumbass to me. Don't be dumbass. Don't be contentious and disagree. Yes, you would. Any type of society and culture you would be born into, you would like go with the flow with that type of society and culture. Your cultural conditioning. The topic of this video is cultural conditioning. Your entire mindset, mentality, beliefs, feelings about so many different things like ethics and morality, all of that type of jazz, it comes from like the culture like that and society you were born into. Like all of your mindset, mentality and beliefs and stuff about the world and about everything else, all of that was like shaped and sculpted and molded by like the society and culture you were born into and raised in. So the cultural conditioning, we all come from like different types of cultural groups and societies and stuff like that. We all have different ethnic backgrounds. You need to understand that, okay, maybe I should be more open-minded. I should not be like a dumbass, ignorant person. I should not be closed-minded and like be like kind of dismissive of like other types of cultures and civilizations. Because we do that. A lot of us, we just tend to like go with like what our society and culture says is correct about whatever and stuff, and we ignore other like cultural opinions, other types of societies and civilizations and cultures and what they have to say. We always just go with what our society and culture and blah 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 has to say and stuff, and this is very ignorant and stupid. You have to be more open-minded. Don't be closed-minded. Don't be ignorant and dumb. Or maybe you want to be ignorant and dumb. I don't know. I do not know too much about that. But cultural conditioning is so important. Yeah, man, if you were born into Nazi Germany, you would be a Nazi, most likely. Don't be a dumbass. You're going to be contentious. I know you're going to be contentious. Don't be a dumbass. Most likely, if you were born into Nazi Germany, you would be a Nazi. You're going to be very contentious and disagree and say, no, not me. Yes, you would. If you were born into Nazi Germany, you would be a Nazi. I'm with like some certainty. Obviously, I can't talk in absolute terms, because you might have some very weird personality quirks. I don't know. Most likely, you would be a Nazi if you were born into Nazi Germany. So scary to think about that. Isn't that terrifying? You were literally sculpted, molded, shaped by your society and culture. That's so important to understand and to know about. That is so important to know about. That your society and culture and all that type of thing, it determines everything about you and who you are as a person. What your society says is true and right and correct and good and whatever, you're gonna go with the flow. You're gonna believe in that. A lot of you, typically you would, even today, the only reason that being unique and different, having your own opinion, the only reason we think that's good is because that's literally it's so oxymoronic. The only reason a lot of us think that being unique and special and having our own opinion, the only reason a lot of us think that is good is because that's what our society tells us now. Our modern society says that being unique, different, having your own opinion, that's good. And we believe that now. See, your society is telling you things and you're just going to believe it. That's so true. That's so true. That's fucking facts, man. What society and culture you get born into and raised in, it's going to determine everything about you as a person, as an individual, as a human being. All of your opinions and beliefs and like feelings about morality, ethics, all this comes from like what society and culture you're born into and raised in. You'll be contentious and disagree and stuff like that. I don't know. If you're gonna be contentious and disagree, I don't know. At least be smart about it. If you're gonna be contentious and say no, every human being is unique. We don't get like molded by our society and culture. If you're gonna be like a dumbass and try and disagree with me and stuff like that, disagree with something that's so obviously like true, like the fact that we all like us human beings, we get like molded by our society and culture. If you're gonna be like contentious, if you're gonna be contentious and disagree, at least like provide like a thorough like type of rebuttal. At least provide like a thorough type of rebuttal. At least provide like a thorough rebuttal. Like create like some type of essay and tell me why I'm wrong in like a very specific like detailed way. Don't be like a dumbass and like leave like some shitty hate comment and like insult my appearance. I don't know. Call me like an ugly dick. I don't know. At least like write like a detailed comment and stuff like that. So important to understand, right? Your like cultural conditioning. The topic of this video is going to be about cultural conditioning. What society and culture you're born into is so important, so influential. It determines quite a lot about you as a person, as a human being. You gotta understand that. You gotta understand that. You gotta be contentious and disagree. And obviously, I encourage you to be contentious and disagree as always. But at least like tune into what I'm saying a little bit, at least a little bit, like trying to understand where I'm coming from, because I'm telling you something that's so obviously true. That as human beings, we get molded and sculpted and crafted by the society and culture we get born into and raised in. This is so obviously true. You're gonna be contentious and disagree and stuff like that. If you're gonna be contentious and disagree, at least have your like your own. At least be like very thorough and be like thoughtful and stuff. Don't just call me an ugly dickhead at all. But this is so obviously true, like that as human beings we get molded, sculpted, crafted like by the society that we get born into and raised in and stuff like that. This is so painfully true. I can bringing it back to Nazi Germany, because that's so important to understand. That Nazi Germany, the Nazis, why did they in Nazi Germany, the Germans thought that they were better than the other ethnic groups and stuff, and they went around trying to kill off like the other ethnic groups and the Jews and stuff like that, and blah blah blah, and the Holocaust. Why did they do that? Why? It's because their society told them that that's correct. Why would like the majority of people in Nazi Germany, why would like the majority of German people in Nazi Germany, why did they just go with the flow? And they just tried to like oh damn, it's getting too noisy. They just tried to like they did like the majority of German people in Nazi Germany, they went with like the flow of their society of Nazi Germany and stuff. They just took Nazi ideology to heart. Why did they do that? It's so important to understand why. Because you as a human being, as a person, you literally get molded, sculpted and crafted by like the society and culture you get born into and raised in and stuff like that. All of that is so important to understand, to get that into your head. Because a lot of us, we're so ignorant and biased about so many different things, and it's not really your fault. It's just because you're born into a particular society with a particular culture, and that shaped and crafted your mindset and mentality. Super important to understand this. It's so important. Damn. Hopefully this isn't getting too noisy, man. Hopefully it isn't getting too noisy. Hopefully you can still hear me properly and stuff like that. I don't know. The society and culture that you get born into and raised in, that determines quite a lot. Why is it that the Nazi Germany, why did so many like German people, they just went with the Nazi ideology, they just took it to heart, they didn't complain about it, they didn't try and like rebel against it, they just took it to heart and they went with it and they tried to fight wars with it and stuff. Why did they do that? It's because human beings, we're like the perfect type of analogy would be like we're sort of like what type of analogy can I use? Fucking I'm so dumb. What type of analogy can I use, man? We're like damn, the human beings, we're like sort of like Play-Doh. I don't know, is that correct? We get molded and sculpted by like external factors and influences. We are like Play-Doh. We're like we're sort of like Play-Doh basically. Yeah, Play-Doh, that's a good analogy. Like we get molded and sculpted by external things, like Play-Doh, like it just Play-Doh tends to like conform to like whatever is around it. That's just like us human beings being exceptional, like being like having your own opinion. That is so brand new in our development, so rare and unique. Typically we just go with the flow. That's so true. We go with the flow and stuff like that. Having your own opinion, that is so rare and unique. Having your own opinion. Anyway, cultural conditioning, you have been crafted, molded, sculpted by the society and culture you were raised in. That's so important to understand. What's also very important to understand is that if you were raised in like in Nazi Germany, you would take Nazi ideology to heart. Why do you think that so many of the German people, they just took Nazi ideology to heart in Nazi Germany? Why didn't they have their own opinion? It's because having your own opinion is that's very exceptional and rare. Obviously now in our modern society, that celebrates have your own opinion to be exceptional and stuff and unique and different. That's celebrated right now because obviously that's like what our culture, society and culture is about now. It's about being unique and different. But way back then it was like you had to like fit into your society and not try and be unique and special and different. Super important to understand this. Super important to understand this, right? The cultural conditioning, you get molded, sculpted, crafted by the society and culture you get raised in and stuff like that, and brought up in and stuff. So important. If you don't understand this, you're just gonna be way worse off, way worse off. And I'm telling you, the society and culture that you get brought up in and raised in and stuff like that, it determines quite a lot. You're going to be contentious and disagree and stuff, and you're going to say that I have my own, you're going to pretend like you have your own unique opinion on things. No, don't be a dumbass. There's the society and culture you get born into and raised in, that determines quite a lot. Don't be a dumbass. You're gonna be contentious and disagree, I don't know. At least if you're gonna be contentious and disagree, at least like write like an essay telling me like why exactly I'm wrong. Don't be a dumbass and leave hate comments and like insults to my physical appearance, I don't know. Super important. So important to understand. Super important to understand how you get like molded, sculpted, crafted like by the society you were raised in and stuff like that. It's so important to understand that. Super important. Yeah, I'm kind of going over the same points, right? But the topic of this video is cultural conditioning. You've been like molded, sculpted, crafted like by your society, by the society and culture you were like raised in and brought up in and stuff like that. Super important to like get that in your head, like that you've been brainwashed. Literally your brain has been literally molded, sculpted and kind of crafted and like pulled in like specific ways by the society and culture you were like raised in. That's so important to understand. You're gonna be contentious and disagree. If you're gonna be contentious and disagree, hopefully you'll write like an essay telling me why I'm wrong, telling me why like we as human beings we don't get like brainwashed and molded by our society and culture and stuff. Like, tell me why that's not the case, because it sort of is the case. Like look at Nazi Germany. The German people, a lot of them just took Nazi ideology to heart. A lot of them just went with the flow. They didn't like try and be unique and different. Why is that? Isn't that kind of very that's very tragic to think about, isn't it? I don't know. I don't want to keep talking about the same things, but you know, cultural conditioning, super important to understand. That you've been molded, sculpted, like molded, sculpted, crafted like by the society and culture you're like raised in and brought up in and stuff like that. The human being, we're sort of like Play-Doh. I don't know. If that makes any sense. We're like Play-Doh. You know, like how Play-Doh, it just conforms. Play-Doh is like a squishy type of thing that just conforms to like someone's hands or like some type of object or whatever. That's like we're as human beings, we're like Play-Doh. I'm telling you, we're like Play-Doh. Being unique and different, having your own opinion, that is like so exceptionally rare. Why do you think in Nazi Germany, the majority of German people, they took Nazi ideology to heart? Why is that? It's because that's just naturally us human beings. We just try and fit into our society and culture. Being unique and different, having your own opinion, that's so exceptional. Hopefully if you're watching my videos, you're trying to be like me and be exceptional and different. Anyway, cultural conditioning, you've been molded, sculpted, crafted by the society and culture you were raised in. That's so important to understand. If you don't get this down in your head, you're going to be like so delusional about our world and stuff. You're going to think that you're like having your own opinions on things when that's probably not the case. Most likely you've been brainwashed in by your culture and society and stuff like that, and you're just projecting things from like your own culture and society. You're not really having your own opinions. That's so important to have your own opinions, to develop like this intellectual freedom and to have your own opinions on things. That's so important. Hopefully, like if you're watching my videos, you're starting to become like more intellectually free. You're starting to become more open-minded and stuff like that. You're not like you're not being like biased and ignorant and stupid. Hopefully. Yeah. We tend to like, again, that's so important to understand. We tend to like a lot of us, we don't really have our own opinions. We just tend to like project like what our society and culture says is correct onto like other onto discussions and other types of things like that. So important to understand, right, that you've been molded and sculpted and crafted by the society and culture you were raised in. That's so important to understand. If you don't get that down in your head, you're just going to be very delusional about our world. You're not going to be open-minded, and you're going to be you're going to be having a lot of different types of problems and issues. Super important to understand and to realize that you've been molded, sculpted, crafted by your society and culture. That's so important. Us human beings, we're like Play-Doh. We just like we conform to like what's around us and stuff like that. Super important to understand that if you were born into Nazi Germany, you would most likely be a Nazi yourself. Super important to understand that. Most likely you're gonna be like contentious and disagree. No, most likely you would be a Nazi yourself. If you were born into Nazi Germany, I'm not even kidding. You'll be a Nazi yourself. You'll be contentious and disagree and say, no, not me. I'm very unique. I'm a unique, special butterfly. No, most likely, if you're born into Nazi Germany, you'll be a Nazi. That's so important to understand. Super important. You would be like that. You'll be like them and stuff like that. That's so important. Human beings were like Play-Doh. We conform to like our society and what's around us and stuff. It's so important to understand that. So important. Cultural conditioning. You've been molded, sculpted, crafted by the society and culture you were raised in and brought up in and stuff. That's so important to understand. You're gonna be contentious and disagree and stuff. Say, not me. No, not me. Yes, you. Don't be delusional. If you're raised in any other type of culture and society, you'll be a different person. I'm telling you that with like a lot of confidence, that you'll be a different person if you're raised in like a different type of society and culture. I'm telling you. Obviously you have some genetic qualities, like like our personality and so there's some things that come from our genetics, but a lot of like how we are and how we act and behave, some of that, like a lot of that comes like from our culture, from what cultures we get raised in our society and stuff. Yeah, if you were born into Nazi Germany, most likely you would be a Nazi yourself. I'm telling you that with some certainty. With some certainty. I'm telling you that with some certainty, that if you were born into Nazi Germany, most likely you'll be a Nazi. Most likely. Having your own opinion is so rare and exceptional. The topic of this video is cultural conditioning. You've been molded, sculpted, crafted by your society and culture. Make sure you understand that. Like a lot of your like beliefs and opinions and like feelings about the world, it all comes from like the culture and society you were brought up in and raised in and stuff like that. If you were brought up and raised in a different type of culture and society, you'll be a different type of person. That's so true. If you were like born into Nazi Germany, you'll be a Nazi yourself. Most likely that's true. And that's about it. Hopefully you think about everything I've said in this video very carefully.